we are learning that a judge has now unsealed some of the search warrants in the Kohberger murder case that led to the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. Those warrants were initially sealed, but now a judge in Washington State ordering their release of some of the redacted versions of these documents. Investigators described previously undisclosed evidence that they were seeking, like blood, DNA, shoes with diamond pattern soles, and data compilations of information about the victims and the house where they were killed. Let's talk about this even further with legal analyst and friend of the program, Will Bruzzo. Will, thanks for being with us. We've spoken with you a number of times on this story, and that was what many who were following this very, very closely wanted. They wanted a judge to unseal some of these search warrants, and now we're getting just that. So the warrants allege Kohberger pre-planned the ambush and had studied other murders and how to avoid detection as part of these preparations. What did you make of it?
You know, it was certainly obviously very interesting. I mean, this guy's a character in a film. It's just so evil that he studies how to plan the perfect murder, and then he attempts to do that. He failed spectacularly, fortunately, in terms of they were able to find him. But it's just a very eerie, strange, individual for sure. I was surprised that they released this information that was contained in the search warrants and affidavits. The reason is, jurors are going to come from the community, and a lot of this stuff is now going to be out there. I believe they found some fabric with some blood on it. There was a lot of other information. All of that information has to come in front of a jury if it goes in front of a jury, and I think it probably will, given the seriousness of the case. And so people are already going to know a lot about this information. I think they're going to have a difficult time finding jurors who, number one, are unfamiliar with the case, especially in that very small community. The other thing is every single bit of evidence against him has to be admitted in front of the judge and the defense attorney. And so they're going to have a hard time finding jurors who maybe haven't prejudged the case and maybe not even the specific pieces of evidence. So I'm not sure if this is the wisest thing to do. I think it's going to make it more difficult to find jurors.
So if it's difficult to find jurors, would the jurisdiction need to be changed? We don't know if that's on the table or not, but could it be in the future?
In a community that small, my understanding is that area is very sparsely populated. They may have to go to a bigger city like Boise or something where there's a larger group of potential jurors. Even there, I think it's going to be difficult to find, jurors who haven't already sort of prejudged the evidence. When you look for a juror, you want someone who hasn't already made a decision about the case, obviously, or isn't so well informed on it they've already made a decision. You want someone who knows as little about it as possible so that they can be more impartial. And that's going to be more difficult here, especially now given the decisions made by the court, and I believe it was also the district attorney, to allow this evidence out into the public realm. Because I think, human nature being what it is, people have been very curious about this case. It's a very strange, odd situation. This individual doesn't appear to actually have known these people. And, he was a law student, or rather he was a criminal law, studying criminal law as a graduate student. So it's piqued a lot of people's interest. And I'm just concerned they may have a difficult time finding an impartial juror. They may have to change venue, go to a bigger city where there's more of a larger juror pool.
Yeah. And Will, that is the, I guess, $64,000 question here. What was the nature, if any, of a relationship between Kohberger and the victims? The story that I'm referring to, quote, data compilations of information about the victims. Information regarding any such relationships is very scant, and so that's kind of what everyone hopes would come out either at that preliminary hearing that's going to be taking place in June or at the trial later this year. But as far as this evidence is concerned, to your point, doesn't it have to be presented? Doesn't it have to be admissible? And we know, at least in Latah County in Idaho, across the state line there, this was a judge in Washington State. In that jurisdiction, there's a gag order on this. So probably a lot of people were waiting for that judge in Washington State, obviously that's where the search warrants were conducted, to unseal them.
Yeah, I think I would have done, if I was a judge, I would have done some kind of gag order or some, basically just sealed the warrants, and especially sealed what they found, because I believe now it's out in the public realm, the things that they actually found. So, that means people are going to already know what the evidence is against him before they even get into the courtroom. Which you have the danger of prejudging the evidence. So that is a serious problem to me. So I don't understand why they release this information. Doesn't seem to be the best idea. Even though, of course, this individual isn't very popular right now, he still has the rights of under the Constitution. And having jurors prejudge it could violate his Fifth Amendment rights.
Right, and of course, you don't want to unseal search warrants until a suspect is in custody. That could jeopardize the investigation. I just want to go over, according to this Fox News digital article, of what was said in the warrant and what was taken from Kohberger's apartment there on the campus of Washington State. Now, nothing was taken from his office. He's a Ph.D. student there. He was, teaching as a GSI, some students in this criminology division. But what was taken from the apartment, a single black glove, a Walmart receipt, and Dickies tag, 2 receipts from a Marshall store, the dust container from a Bissell vacuum, 8 possible hair strands, a Fire TV stick, and a single possible animal hair strand, 4 other possible hairs, and a big computer tower. So investigators have a lot to pore over there. Final thoughts, Will?
Yeah, so I just hope it doesn't affect their ability to pick an impartial jury. This obviously a very serious crime. You don't want to have any slip-ups by law enforcement. And obviously this thing has piqued the interest of the public, and the public have a right to know to an extent. But of course, you want to keep the process constitutional and impartial.
All right, Will, as always, we appreciate your insight into these stories, and we will talk again. Thanks so much.